Okay, folks, Jeff Landfield back here for kind of a late night edition of the calling it Landmine Live here at the live stream. I want to before I start, I want to thank John Quick. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of John Quick on the Kenai stream. So, John supports independent journalism, and I really want to thanks, John. Appreciate that. If you're interested in sponsoring the live stream or advertising on the Landmine or donating to the Landmine, you can go on the website and go to subscribe, or you can get a hold of me for any information on advertising or buying ads for your business or your campaign. But again, for the live stream, I want to thank John Quick for being a sponsor. I want to talk about something that happened yesterday that I had kind of heard about last minute that I wasn't aware of. I was aware of the person involved, so I'm sure a lot of you who are watching are aware or have heard about Angela Harris, who was the woman in 2022, February 2022, who went to the library to drop some books off with her then boyfriend, now husband, and she was stabbed and paralyzed by a mentally very severely mentally ill man with a long history of violence against women, threats against women. Who a lot more has come out since then. He was deemed unfit to stand trial, and now there's a civil lawsuit from Angela and her lawyers, and it's against the municipality of Anchorage. I'll talk about that a little bit. The state. And I think the security company Securitas is involved as well. That was at the security at the library. The court has dropped, I think, most of the claims against the state, except maybe one related to the Department of Corrections. I don't know the specific granular details of everything. I familiarized myself with a lot of the lawsuit. I watched the hearing, which I'm going to talk about, which was kind of wild. How what the municipal attorney, Linda Johnson, was arguing. But essentially, 2022, library, dropping off some books, stabbed by a deranged, mentally ill man, who later they found out was in the custody of the state. He was let go for whatever reason. I think the ADN reported that he slipped through the cracks. Then, not long after, he was at the Captain Cook. He had been trespassed from the Captain Cook. He was there again. The security at the Captain Cook cuffed him to a chair. The APD was called. I guess they were even told, hey, this guy's crazy. This guy's mentally ill. He's known to, assault people and threaten people, and, threatening women is his thing. They pick him up. They end up dropping him off at the Sullivan Arena. 4 days later, he stabs Angela, who I've met many times in Juneau. There was a bill from Senator Clayman about the length of time and how you can involuntarily commit someone in Alaska. That bill passed a couple years ago. She's a great person. I mean, I just feel so kind of sick to my stomach for what happened to her. And based on this oral argument and this motion, the city is motioning to basically dismiss the cases. They're asking for summary judgment, saying basically we're not responsible. We have immunity. Sorry this happened to you, but ultimately we're not responsible. Even though all the facts show they are responsible. I mean, it's wild how much is in this motion, their opposition motion, the lawyers, and then some of the kind of what's in there that everybody agrees on. So it started out with the attorney for the city, Linda Johnson. It was kind of almost bizarre. Angela was there. She's in a wheelchair. Her lawyers were there. And the attorney for the city says, we want to extend our sympathies. We're so sorry for what happened to you. Horrible. But it's not on us. And made a couple of really weird, almost, one of the arguments was so crazy that they had to take a break. It even prompted the Judge Hartz, to say, are you serious? Are you arguing that? One of the arguments she kind of made, and then she said it was like an argument that the Angela's lawyers made, but essentially said, well, if she wouldn't have gone to the library, if she would have gone 10 minutes later or 10 minutes earlier, if she wouldn't have gone inside, or if she would have gone somewhere else, or if he would have gone somewhere else, all these scenarios that I'm sure Angela has played over a bazillion times in her head, which this is what the judge said. When the lawyer for the municipality said that, the judge actually said, are you serious? Are you really making that argument? And she goes, I'm just saying that, this is I don't even know why she was saying that. So they called a break. Angela was obviously pretty upset. They come back, and she, made other arguments saying that you know, we can put up signs, but, you know, we know the library is kind of dangerous. We can't warn for things that people might, you know, already kind of know about, or a sign might not have any deterrence. I mean, if it was me, the sign, I'd put up a sign and say, enter at your own risk. I have a lot of friends who won't go to the library anymore with their kids because of the kind of crazy people that are there, you know, in the bathroom doing drugs, screaming, mentally ill people, watching, you know, pornography on the. I'm a First Amendment pretty much absolutist, but you know, I almost I kind of draw the line at like watching porn at the library, where a kid can, you know, walk by and see it. That's not okay. I'm going to pull up some note. I have some tweets I'm going to pull up here just so I can refresh myself on some. There's a lot of stuff that was said. Let me just pull this thing up here real quick. So, yeah, so they set the guy loose, and then the municipal lawyer was, you know, also this is maybe the craziest thing she said, or I think the wildest thing, which is almost an omission that I've been waiting for after covering this kind of mental illness and homelessness and vagrancy problem we've had. She said this isn't a matter for the judicial branch; it's a matter for the executive and legislative branch, basically the assembly and the mayor, because we only have so many resources, and it's really a policy call. I guess I'm glad somebody finally said that. Like, we sorry, you know, you're on your own. I guess, you know, arm yourselves or don't go to the library. There was also, and it sounds like they haven't deposed people because there's a stay right now. There's basically a pause on depositions, but it sounds like the security, this guy had been like making threats earlier that day at the library. He'd been at the library for a while, for I think over an hour, and he'd been threatening women, telling some woman, I'm going to get you. And again, this guy has a long history of criminal assault against women, felony assault. And so the security, we've all been to the library. If you go to the assembly meetings, I mean, you know, security, they're doing their job, but I mean, they can only do so much. You know, they aren't going to deal. I mean, what are they going to do with some I mean, obviously the city knows they need security, so they're already recognizing there's a problem. But they need, you know, better security or police, especially when a guy who has been trespassed to Captain Cook, set loose by the state, cut loose by APD, all these factors line up. And I mean, to me, it's just kind of almost wild that the city, I mean, the poor girl who got killed by APD, Easter Leafa, who was 16, who had a knife, and the whole thing's horrible. You know, I don't know why it happened, why the sister called the police, and why she wouldn't drop the knife. I mean, there's so many factors that were just, I mean, horrible outcome. But it was found to be a good shoot or not a bad shoot, and no, she was killed, obviously horrible. Angela's still alive but paralyzed. They settled with Easter's family for $2.1 million, but in this case they're saying, well, we can't, you know, we have no responsibility. Sorry it happened to you, but we're gonna not take. We're not. It's not on us, not on the state. Maybe. At one point they were kind of almost blaming the security company. You know, they said something like, "Oh, the security guards aren't municipal employees." They're kind of, and there was a Securitas person in the room who kind of like looked like turned her head. So I almost think maybe this was the first time. I'm guessing that maybe now the city's almost not blaming, but kind of distancing themselves from Securitas. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. I mean, I don't know what kind of if immunity extends to them, or if they're a contractor, you know, what their role was. But like I said, this guy, we've all heard the story. It's horrible, and I thought some of the arguments the municipal attorney, Linda Johnson, was making was just really crazy. Not our fault. Things are dangerous. We can only put up so many signs. We can only do so much. She could have gone somewhere else. She could have gone later or early, or not gone inside. I mean, we all know how dangerous and horrible the library's become, and many other parts of Anchorage. So her lawyers, one of the lawyers, Brittany Goodnight, is a friend of mine. I was at her wedding 13 years ago. I know her husband very well. I didn't know she was actually. I heard about this last week. Somebody said you should go check out this hearing. I know about Angela Harris. I knew there was a lawsuit. I don't follow all these court cases very closely all the time. There used to be courthouse reporters. You know, the newspaper would have a courthouse reporter that was at the courthouse, kind of watching all these things. So I didn't even know Brittany was a lawyer. The main lawyer is Meg Simone, and she was really good. I mean, she was kind of cooking, arguing or pushing back on a lot of these arguments about, people do have responsibility, owners, private owners, government, to warn people if there's dangers. Some of the other arguments, there was one argument they were making about an investigation by, a woman. There was a case where a woman was killed, and the investigation afterwards about maybe where the body was or how they were finding the body was kind of botched, and how that could work. But I mean, in this case, nobody was killed. I mean, this is like, doesn't apply to that. That's after the challenging an investigation after the fact. This is stuff that was going on, and I guess it's been really hard to get. It sounds like to get evidence or discovery of. At one point, the municipal attorney said they have a 30-day retention rate on the tapes, on the security tapes, and the judge asked why wasn't it preserved, and she goes, "This was her quote: It wasn't preserved because it wasn't preserved." That's what she said. I mean, we didn't. Who knew there was going to be a lawsuit? I mean, I'm sure they were very happy to not preserve, because it would be fascinating to see what that guy was doing before, how he was acting, who he was interacting with. Like I said, it sounds like he had threatened another woman before. He was there for a while. It's just, this is all preventable. This is all preventable. And someone I talked to, this guy, horrible. He needs to be locked up, whether it's jail or committed. I mean, he's committed right now, but I don't even think she can know if he's released. He was found not fit to stand trial. But in some ways, and I'm not going to say the guy's he's not a victim. He's not a victim. But in some ways, he's kind of part of the result of a very, very, very failed system where we let very, very mentally ill people roam around and kind of we see it all the time on the streets, walking around, yelling at themselves, hitting themselves, acting just totally insane on the ground. I see it. I was just driving down C Street, coming back to my office, and there was a person by Walmart in the middle of the road, just on the ground. Their friend was there. There was a lot of cars screaming. I mean, I just drove right by it. We see this every day. So these people, it's worse for them. It's worse for society, and it's worse for them to be outside, doing, cut loose, doing whatever they want, prey to bad people, and who knows what could happen, right? So it's, this guy in some ways is part of the failure of our system. This guy never should have been out. He never should have been cut loose by the state or by the police. He never should have been at the library. And Angela never should have got stabbed and paralyzed. And now she's looking for, I mean, I think she was active duty, and now she's had to be, she's paralyzed. She can't walk. She had to be quick to military. She's just a great person. And it's just the most horrible, horrific thing that we could, my blood boils about it. And the fact that the city's like, well, sorry, not our fault. We only have so many resources. I mean, how much money have we spent on this homelessness problem? Hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's like, the more we spend, the worse it gets. I'm fine spending money on treatment, on jails, on sheltering. The problem is most people don't want those things. That's why you got to deal with these people and say, you're crazy. You've committed crimes. You've assaulted people. You're going away. You're going away, whether it's jail or whether it's a mental institution or some kind of civil commitment, because this should never have happened. And I was actually just almost angry watching this oral argument yesterday at the courthouse. It lasted a little over an hour. So again, the oral argument was over a motion from the city for summary judgment to basically dismiss the claims against them. And I don't know how the judge is going to rule. She's been there for Dunleavy appointed her, I think 3 or 4 years ago. She's in her 40s. She's a mom. So she was asking the question she was asking. Again, it's hard to tell how they're going to rule, but she didn't seem very sympathetic to the city. So they also talked about, there's a trial date set for January, but based on the timing of all this and how she rules, it sounds like if there's going to be a trial, it's going to be pushed way out to late next year, because there's depositions that need to happen. So, but the question is now, how is she going to rule on the motion from the municipality to, lift the claims, deny Angela's claims against them, because, it's not their fault, they're immune. And if they rule for Angela, if they rule against the city, there's going to be a whole bunch of discovery and depositions and all kinds of, emails. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of text messages. I mean, think about what the security people were telling themselves, or what they were communicating with the library or the police. I mean, there's probably so much, probably solid gold in there for discovery. But a trial would be, it sounds like at least a year, more than a year and a half out, a long way away. So the thing to watch right now is how does Judge Hart's rule on this motion from the city for summary judgment to dismiss her claims And like I said, most of the claims I think were dismissed against the state. There's one, maybe something still kind of in play against the Department of Corrections. But yeah, it was not a lot of people were there. Some friends of Angela. There was some state lawyers there. There was a Securitas person. I wish more media would have been there to cover it. I mean, I think we've all watched her kind of journey over the last over 3 years dealing with this and going to Juneau and trying to get this law passed. And I guess even when the guy had the commitment hearing at some point, she had to get some kind of permission to even to go to be there. And then the laws now, she can't. This is crazy. If the guy's released, if the guy's cut loose again, God forbid he's cut loose again, which would be insane. She doesn't even get to get. If somebody is in jail and you're a victim, I think they alert you or they can tell you, hey, this person's been released. I don't even think she gets to know. I mean, it's like the inmates are running the asylum. It's so crazy. I really, really, really hope that judge rules against the city and lets Angela's claims move forward against the city for this horrible, again, just to summarize, state cuts him loose. He gets picked up at the Captain Cook. He's been trespassed from the Captain Cook. He was handcuffed by security. Police come. They were warned about the guy being aggressive and hurting people and making threats. He gets dropped off at the Sullivan. 4 days later, he's at the library, acting crazy, making threats, stabs Angela, paralyzes Angela. And the city's like, not our, we're sorry for what happened. We're really sorry, but, not our problem. Wild. The whole thing's wild. So that's that. Again, I want to thank John Quick for being a sponsor of the live stream. If you go to the Landmine Facebook page or X, I got a tip yesterday. I was aware that there's some problems on Spenard, Minnesota, but I wasn't aware the sheer kind of gravity of the problems, the seriousness. There is a bunch of people out there on several blocks off Spenard, Minnesota, near a park, where people are openly using drugs. It looks like heroin or fentanyl. The Chelsea Inn's over there. I've seen people have sent pictures of it. Looks like drug dealing happening from the window. People nodding off. People acting extremely shady. That crazy eyes, the 1,000-yard stare. Business is impacted. I talked to owner of a restaurant who's basically said this is just killing his business. Salon owner. There was a gas station where the guy said one shift they stole $400 worth of stuff. They come in. He said right before I walked in, somebody came and took a bunch of donuts and stuff, and they said, "Are you serious? What are you doing?" And they said, "Fuck you." And they can't. They're told, "Don't do anything. Don't engage. Let them. That's insane." So it's like zombie land over there on Minnesota and Spenard. I took some pictures. I did a live stream from my car yesterday from my phone, and I took a bunch of pictures. I mean, first time I've been to camps, dozens, many, probably 100, maybe almost 100, camps, many dozens of camps I've been to over the years, making videos and kind of looking at this stuff. I've probably spent hundreds of hours total doing this, whether staying at the Sullivan, going to the camps, going to 3rd and Ingra. And we were shot at once. There's a gun that went off once. It was pretty scary. But this was actually the most uneasy, the most unnerved I've ever felt walking amongst these several blocks of these people. I mean, it was just like you had no idea what they were going to do. It was very scary. It was almost like some of those videos you see in Portland or Philadelphia where there's just like a road or a street of people just totally drugged out, nodding off, sitting there bent over. It was kind of like that. Right off Minnesota. And there's a park right there. There's a park for kids. And I was told that the municipality has a problem mowing the lawn because people are camping. There's a bunch of graffiti. I saw people there. I saw several people there when I drove by. I walked from I parked my car and then I walked around for a while, took some pictures. But again, I didn't really want to, it was still daylight. I mean, it wasn't like night. I really wouldn't want to go there at night. But the amount of, I'm also hearing there's a bunch of people breaking into houses, a bunch of houses back there. There's when I was walking around, there was a couple times where it's like you're being recorded. I mean, they've installed, maybe they were there before, but they've either had them there before. They've installed these cameras, video cameras, and I've heard many stories of people being their houses broken into, people going in their garage, people taking stuff, for drugs. It's absolutely. I actually saw a cop pull up at one point. There was a guy sitting in the middle of the road. Cop pulled up. There was a bunch of them. He got out. He's by himself. Talked to him for a while. Then he left. I mean, I saw a guy with putting a needle in his arm. Can we arrest the criminals for doing crime? Can we arrest the people for doing crimes? Fine. Don't arrest people for being. Don't criminalize poverty. Don't arrest people for being sleeping outside. I think we should not let that happen. But at least can we arrest people for drinking and doing drugs and shooting up in public? There's laws against all that stuff. Absolutely insane over there. I couldn't believe how bad it was. It was just out of a movie or out of just like a Seattle or Portland. But it's here. It's here in Anchorage, right in the middle of Minnesota and Spinard. So that's the gist of it. If you want to go on the landmine, there's a bunch of tweets about the Angela Harris oral arguments yesterday. I'm going to post at some point. I'm do a bigger story on that. I'm going to get the filings from the city and from her lawyers and the response, and I'll post those documents as well, so you can get a better idea. I'll do a story on it. But that was the gist of it. It was very frustrating. I can't even begin to imagine or fathom what she's gone through and what she's had to deal with, but because of an absolute abject failure by the city and the state for letting an extremely deranged, mentally ill man who has committed many crimes against women loose, and then saying, "Wow, sorry, that's really shitty what happened to you. Not our problem, not our fault. Should have known better." Essentially, well, we can put up signs, but it's the library. We only have so many resources. That's it. I got to take off tomorrow. I got to do some things. I got to see the parents again, so I'm not going to have a live stream I'll maybe do it from the phone somewhere, but make sure to go to the landmine. There's a new story up there. It's a hot story about the crazy federal prosecutor lovers who lied to their bosses about their relationship and about traveling and going to Hawaii on little lover trips and all kinds of wild shit. It's the Karen Vandergraad, James Klugman that I did a live stream about a couple days ago. There's more information in other filings about the kind of extent of their lies to their bosses, and they're both on leave right now. One of the other filings from the state, the federal government opposing a motion to vacate this guy's sentence because they were all involved, and so was former Judge Kindred. They said they were both on administrative leave right now, pending an investigation about a lot of lies. So check out that story. And then, like I said, I want to thank John Quick for being a sponsor of the live stream. Folks, if you like the landmine, please consider making a one-time or monthly recurrent donation. Go to alaskalandmine.com/subscribe. If you have a business, organization, campaign, whatever you want to do an ad, we have a ton of viewers on the website. I'm happy to share the analytics. And if you want to ever sponsor the live stream or the podcast or any of that, just get a hold of me, and I'd really appreciate that. We'll see you guys next time.